Hello everyone. And today I'm doing something very different. Today I'm going to be talking about human nature. And what is human nature? So human nature, I don't know if humans are inherently good and inherently bad. And I asked this question to my mom and my brother. And my brother said humans are inherently good and institutions are inherently bad. Like Burke would say, guy's name, Edwin Burke would say, institutions are inherently bad and people are inherently good, and so we must break the chains of our slavery. Okay. I completely disagree, because every time we use institutions to, let's say, have rent control or whatever, you lower the standard of those homes, those properties. Because those tradesmen are not getting enough money from rent control properties. Right? And if the government funds it, well, you're just going to create malinvestment in the economy. So, right? So I say that institutions are inherently bad because what it does is it creates the wrong incentives. Not because institutions are inherently bad because they're helping the people. Right? My brother kind of believes the opposite. Institutions are bad because they're not helping the people enough. Okay, good enough. Right? Then I talked to my mom about this, and she absolutely just hated the idea that humans were inherently bad. And I do see that I do think girls inherently think this way, honestly, though. They like the idea that humans are inherently good. I don't think I can necessarily disagree, but she did give up a really good example of what a good intention, but it led to a bad outcome. She was telling me about an autistic student who would go on a desk. They would hop on a desk, and they would like to, every time the teacher wanted him to get off the desk, they would get him candy. So, I'll hop off the desk and eat candy. But then the student realized if I did it over and over again, I got more candy. Right? And so, it was this bad incentive loop that she created. The teacher was well-intentioned, right? But it led to a bad outcome. So maybe it's not the fact that humans are inherently good or inherently bad. Because the outcome was bad, but the intention was good. Maybe it's because humans are misunderstood. And that really made me think, like, that is exactly what every political discussion's about. People inherently think of each other as bad people. And yes, I inherently think of some people on a different side of me as inherently, they don't understand that institutions cannot solve their problems. And so maybe if we could teach these people that regardless if you try to dismantle hierarchy, you're just going to get a worse hierarchy. That you look at what the Cubans did, the Venezuelans, the Soviets did, right? Look at what they did, right? They said, oh, we're going to make a dictatorship of the proletariat. And then the working man, the socialist man, will unravel the state. That's sort of what they said, because, we have to get rid of the capital, we have to get rid of the profit incentive. So they got rid of the capital profit incentive, but that required establishing a dictatorship. Now, what if there was a way you couldn't do that? Well, again, fascist dictatorships like Italy and Germany, they realized that, there is no way to get rid of the hierarchy. We're just going to maintain it. Because all we want to do is make sure that our businesses are run to the what the state wants, basically. So Italy just wants companies that go through their goals, their fascist goals, their socialist goals. So basically fascism is basically honest socialism. Noticing that hierarchies are inherently natural, and that are inherently the state will be the one hierarchy at the end of it. So one advocates for no state, that would be communism, and one advocates for state, which is socialism. So socialism is more the honest version of socialism. And I find this so fascinating. The fact that the fascists and communists are both socialists. They both want to collectivize, but collectivizing means that you're gonna have a centralized hierarchy. You cannot have it both ways. You have a centralized system that's non-hierarchical. There's no way. You have to elect somebody to represent you. You can't have all hundreds of employees be equally represented. Somebody's voice is going to be higher than somebody else's, You look at the 12-man crew in France, right? Think about France, for instance. Equality, fraternity, whatever, right? The three mottos of France. There was a guy named Robespierre, Maximilian Robespierre, and he was supposedly an equal of 12. But the thing is, his voice represented all 12 of those guys. Those 11 guys really didn't say a whole lot. Robespierre was the most vocal, outspoken person in that group of 12, despite the fact they had equal status in the French government. And so he was able to chop off so many people's heads because he just represented what the French people wanted the most, or supposedly what the French wanted the most, because he was supposedly one of those equals of 12. So maybe it's not the fact that maybe human power is inherently unequal, and that it will never be equal, until you find a way to get rid of our human desire, our human emotion. The problem is everyone wants some level of power. And it's not enough power to go around to control everything for one person or even 50% of the population. It's not enough. So that's why I say you need multiple hierarchies to compete against each other. That way it drives down consumer prices. Because you have one hierarchy and it controls the prices. That's a monopoly right there, like education in the United States. And so that's why I advocate for multiple hierarchies. That's why I advocate for multiple schools. That's why I advocate for multiple gas companies. That's why I advocate for multiple companies competing against each other. Facebook and Google, absolutely a fantastic example of them driving down prices and leading massive innovation for everyone. You know, well, yes, YouTube probably controls so much more than Facebook ever did, because they are the second most visited website in the world behind Google. And they're owned by Google, so they have so much more traffic coming to them than other companies. And so they have so much information they're controlling over other companies. But still, they have some competition. They still got Amazon to compete with. They still got, they obviously work together to get rid of the smaller competitors like Gab and whatever. So, I mean, obviously it's inherently dangerous, the fact that we have just a small collection of companies. But survival of the fittest is basically, it necessitates it. If we keep propping up losers, there's no end to the cost, right? There's this little song called, I forgot the name of the song. It was like Keynesian versus Austrian school, right? And it's like, capitalism is about profit and loss. If we bail out the losers, there's no end to the cost. And that's absolutely correct. If the small companies can't survive in this economy, and they cannot lower prices for the consumer, and the consumer doesn't want it, then why prop it up? Why pump more money into it? And so I do see a lot of industries where they do that. That's called cronyism. Not really socialism, because there's still a profit incentive for the company, I guess. And so that's the problem with these socialists, though. They want to prop up other things that are inherently not profitable, but they're inherently humanitarian. But these humanitarians actually will actually siphon off taxpayer money. That's actually inherently a negative thing. So maybe it's not the fact that humans are necessarily bad or good. Maybe it's because they don't understand their intent. They don't understand their intentions have bad effects. That would be a better thing. So maybe just because I can't just say that they're bad, because they obviously believe in this ideology that hurts people, but they think it's gonna help people, that it will cause goodness in this world. And I inherently disagree with that. I have so many examples on my bookshelf that prove otherwise. Don't count it. It's a perfect example of what not to do. You don't just count on things to work. You have to think of things logically to a priori knowledge. And these people don't do that. They don't look at the balance sheets. They don't look at anything. And they don't realize that, yes, you can't just theoretically, make up I might be a bit of a crazy person, but maybe human nature is misunderstanding. Maybe it's not good or bad. Maybe it's good intentions lead to bad outcomes. I mean, the road to serfdom is paved with good intentions. That would probably be the best quote for this video. The road to serfdom is paved with good intentions. Maybe these people who have good intentions will lead to a bad outcome. And my brother is like, no, that doesn't make any sense. No, that inherently happens all the time. You look at the Cubans, you look at the Russians, they inherently had good institutions. Good intentions. But it turned ugly really quickly. I mean, anytime someone wants to start a small little business, all of that has a profit incentive. We gotta get rid of them. It's no way, you can't win with these people. They don't want it to expand. So, these businesses to expand and compete against the state. So obviously, I mean, maybe these communists that were in these countries were inherently fascist. Maybe they knew that the hierarchy eventually couldn't get de-established by the socialist working man. But maybe they did. Maybe they still thought that their philosophy was a good thing. Maybe they did think that they could get rid of the dictatorship of the proletariat with the socialist working man. That's what I find so interesting about the Soviet Constitution, is they do say, oh, we are a dictatorship, but the socialist working man will de-establish it over time the more he works. And maybe that's inherently wrong. Maybe that hierarchy will exist forever because they don't realize that there's no way to get rid of hierarchies. Maybe the only way to weaken a hierarchy is to have other hierarchies compete against each other. And that's why I love the United States so much. There's a reason why there are so many more billionaires. There's a reason why there's so many more millionaires. There's a reason why people who are poor here are way well off than other countries. It's because we have other hierarchies competing against each other. We have other people competing against each other. It's really, don't just say hierarchy, just say people. Because what a hierarchy is made of people. Maybe companies, companies are hierarchies. They have a CEO that will try to see and gear towards customer demand. If they don't get customers, then your labor means absolutely nothing. You're moving bricks and no one's paying you to move bricks. Then that labor theory value is completely wrong at that point. You don't produce anything for these customers. So, or even the business owner. If the business owner is not making a profit, why pay you? Or if the only people who are going to pay you are business owners, that's inherently wrong too. So then, you need to find a way, there's a reason why internet people, on YouTubers make so much more money than the average person, is because they attract millions of people. Without YouTube directly paying them, kind of. They have Patreons, they have different things like that. And so maybe it's really, what do you bring to the table? Look at plumbers, right? They make more per transaction, which is why they make more money than the average person, because they can do more transactions than other businesses. They have a higher return on investment than a medical doctor. I mean, that's inherently a good thing, and we should incentivize people to be plumbers. But yet, our system is telling us that, it's capitalism that leads to poverty. It's you picking the dumb trade that leads to poverty. It's you picking something that's overinflated in the market, and then advocating for more money in it, flooding it, and malinvesting it, that leads to poverty. Maybe it's your good intentions that lead to poverty. We still graduate way more education majors, yet we still have a shortage of teachers because we flooded the market with money. And then what happened was people weren't getting paid enough, despite the fact we flooded the money with market with education degrees. We spent all our money in education, on educating everybody. We didn't spend any money actually getting them jobs. That's inherently malinvestment. Every time you see an underemployment rate, think malinvestment. Think that was a waste of an investment right there. Now, I don't want to say that someone made a bad mistake going to college or whatnot. I don't want to demonize people. Because again, maybe people aren't good or bad. Maybe there's unintended. Maybe their intentions lead to bad outcomes, and they are good. Wholeheartedly. Maybe that's a more cynical view of human nature. But I'm a generally believer of John Locke, and maybe John Locke was wrong. Maybe it's the fact that institutions might not be good or whatnot, but it means that institutions will actually limit the amount of power an individual will have in a total system. Maybe that's the only good thing to come from institutions, especially in the United States, is that they have a limited amount of power. But the problem is, let's say you take over all three chambers of government, the legislative, the executive, and the judicial. What's stopping someone from really creating a dictatorship of the proletariat? Absolutely really nothing, really. So, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, because again, I don't really know, but the goal is basically to limit the amount of power a person has indefinitely. We don't want them to have judicial, executive, and legislative power, especially in the United States. So maybe there's a better system out there, but I don't know it. But anyway, it's besides the point. You are someone, I'm someone else. Talking about the fundamental law of human nature. Signing out.